The member for Harbour Grace, Port de Grave.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I too want to stand today, of course, and represent the district of Harbour Grace, Port de Grave. On speaking to this bill, I believe it is certainly an important bill, and as my colleagues have said, the amendments to our Highway Traffic Act are something that will be ongoing forevermore for as long as we utilize roadways, and we can all attest to how it would change someone's life, to lose a loved one. If not directly, indirectly, I would say that every member in this House of Assembly has been affected by a fatal collision at some point in time. And I'll reflect on a time when my life was changed. It was one of my best friends was actually killed tragically on the Veterans Memorial Highway. And it was just following our first year of high school. And it was just gearing up for Christmas time. There were two vehicles involved in that. Weather conditions certainly were a contributing factor, but it was indeed a fatal collision. And I'll never forget that day. It was a Sunday, I remember. My friend, his name is Lloyd Morgan. I've talked about him here. He's from Port de Grave. He and another friend were driving on their way to do some Christmas shopping in St. John's in the Avalon Mall. And they were traveling on the Veterans Memorial. And it was just before reaching the Mackinson's Bridge in that roadway where it was a head-on collision. And my friend died instantly, and we'll just never forget that. And his family, to this very day, they carry on. They do what they can, to continue with life for their children and for now their grandchildren and the other family members. But their lives have been changed forevermore, and it's something, of course, that we'll never forget. Unfortunately, there have been a lot of fatal collisions in the district and in the region where I come from, where I represent. Also, family friends Adam Rose and Wade Ha of Clark's Beach in Port de Grave were also fatally killed in Mackinson's one night, and it was a single vehicle collision. And they happened to hit a pole, only a single pole that happened to be in a field. We're uncertain as to what caused the accident. Whether something had come out in the roadway. We also have to contend with moose here, our wildlife. And myself, I came pretty close to hitting a moose on the Veterans Memorial just a couple of weeks ago, Mr. Speaker. And it was at nighttime. I happened to be driving slower than the posted speed limit at this time, given to the road conditions. But we always have to be focused. And, at this day and age, there are many distractions, such as our cell phones, such as the texting, such as you also have to be mindful of the drivers around you. When I stopped abruptly to avoid hitting this large moose, a driver behind me pulled out and passed and swayed to the other side of the road to avoid hitting the animal. So, common sense, when someone stops abruptly on a highway, whether it be nighttime, whether in the daytime, chances are it's for a reason. And this time, it certainly was for a reason. Also, Mr. Speaker, I certainly want to commend the minister for bringing this bill forward, to making the amendments to, again, Bill 27 for our viewers at home, amendments to the Highway Traffic Act. And I can speak from experience, with my colleague, when she gets a bee in her bonnet, or when she has, of course, when there's a good cause, she certainly puts her heart and soul into this. And I can remember a time when she told me how, in her former profession as a nurse, and had come up on a fatal accident. And again, even just coming up on those accidents and seeing them, it has an impact that never leaves you. In my former career as a journalist, and I've also worked with my honourable colleague across the way, the Leader of the Opposition, who was then the Media Relations Officer for the RNC at the time. Of course, I was a journalist, and we'd often work together, and I've had to interview him on some fatal collisions as well. One that comes to mind, it happened on Kenmount Road. It was in the late hours in the evening. I do know speeding was involved, but this vehicle veered off the road and hit a tree, and two people's lives were lost. And again, it's the family members who are left to cope with that every day, to get up and to face the day. And so again, I won't take too much time. I certainly call upon all members in this honourable House, on all sides of the House, because it is certainly our obligation to work together, and we're here for the people of Newfoundland and Labrador. I know the minister was inspired by a family impacted in her district, to bring this forward. And again, it's great to see good things happening. There's lots of things happening that unfortunately we can't, every wish can't be granted, but when we can do something like this and make some amendments where need be, where it improves safety for everyone across Newfoundland and Labrador, it certainly is to be commended, and it's great to see people working together all times of the year, but especially, of course, coming up on the Christmas season. So I do look forward to all colleagues voting in favour of this amendment. And again, thank you to the Minister for bringing this forward, and I certainly will be supporting this, and I look forward to the support of all members. So thank you, Mr. Speaker.